Save a prayer for those who care. I keep the faith, but no one will dare to hold my hand until the end. When all the pieces fall into place, my body's weak, the mind is tired, but there's a fire that heals deep inside. I close my eyes and stretch my soul to gather up the nerve to carry on. Daisies everywhere.
Cory,
You caught me mid-sip. Philippos. Hi, everybody. Oh,
welcome to MARVEL Talks. I'm so happy to have you.
you know, I call my good friend Dave Crane the marvelous David Crane because his initials are DC, and I know there's always a rivalry between Marvel and DC, but I feel marvelous being here. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Our viewers are slowly gathering before the stage in the various platforms, and I would like to say to our viewers that we have...
Maybe mute me. Hi, everybody. Those are my dogs.
No worries. Let me just mute you for a moment then. So we have Cory. And let me say to our viewers that Cory is a 20-year restaurant industry veteran turned entrepreneur and one of LinkedIn's most popular and influential voices. Cory is the founder and chief visionary officer of ShedWool, a smart shifting scheduling platform with enterprise communication, rules-based scheduling, compliance, and many other features, and is taking the world by storm. Cory, you're back online.
I am, and I don't have all the beautiful background noise, so we're good to go. I want to tell your audience something that they may or may not know. I need to give you a huge shout out because you are one of 3 people that's the reason that I'm active on LinkedIn. I was brand new to the platform, trying to figure out why I was there, what I wanted to do, how I could get a little bit of attention. And you started a campaign, 7 stories, 7 lessons. I hopped on right away. That campaign took the world by storm. Carrie Luxem was doing videos on LinkedIn. As you mentioned, 20-year restaurant industry veterans. Of course, I have the Restaurant Operators HR Playbook. I have about 20 of them over here as well. I'm giving away to anybody watching this broadcast in the restaurant industry. And then a friend of mine, Anna Sabino in Hawaii, she was one of the first people to do videos. I believe she did your challenge as well. She asked me to do the challenge. Okay, we're not going to deal with dogs too much, but I understand. There's some stuff going on outside, but the 3 of you, I'll never forget. The 3 of you changed my life. So huge thank you to you.
I'm very honored to have these comments from you, Cory. It was 2018 was a crazy year. I switched careers. I began delving into the nitty-gritty of LinkedIn. I think you have 2 dogs, right? Is it correct?
I do. Yep.
So this campaign was one of the most bizarre things that I did. I began to post videos and some personal stories of mine, and then I was fascinated by how easily people were convinced, in a good way, to join the ride. And I mean, there was hundreds of people joining, shooting videos, and that was a flavor of the LinkedIn as we know it today. And I met with you, and I met with some other people, the people you mentioned as well. And now I think I am personally on a completely different path because of LinkedIn. And you, my friend, I mean, I take my hat off to you because since then you have managed to amass a following which is nearing 200,000 followers, something between 170. But you are on your way to 200K, and I think from knowing you, most likely you are on your way to 1 million followers. How did this come about? Did you have a magic wand?
You know, I think what it is I made a decision early on. I wanted to do video because Carrie Luxem encouraged me to, and I realized right away that meant people could hear my voice, look in my eyes, and get to know me a little bit. And Carrie was broadcasting from her $1 million home in her kitchen and from her $100,000 vehicle, and it was daunting. I didn't have $1 million home at the time, and I didn't have an expensive vehicle and you know, I had a brand new car, but not as nice as hers. And it was a bit intimidating. She's been successful her whole life, but I decided I didn't want to have people look at my videos and feel like I was on a different level than them. So I started doing videos with my hair messy, background noise, my dogs barking. People started to love it. Wrinkled shirts, T-shirts, and people started to realize if I could do it, they could do it. I did it with the light behind me blinding people. I did it outside with the wind in my microphone. And people started to understand if I was doing it using the excuses that they were using as a positive, not a negative, then more and more people would do it as well. And people like yourself also, I think, just speaking about our experiences and our life and bringing that to the collective consciousness, I think really resonated with people. And I got really fortunate. I got somewhat deliberate and strategic early on, identified a couple of the influencers on the platform that at the time were getting hundreds or thousands of likes per post. And I thought that was amazing. And they both had 100,000 or more followers. I thought that was amazing. And I started not only engaging with them, but engaging with every post that they engaged with. So I go to their profile, the last 10 posts they engaged with, I would engage with. I like their comments, I'd leave good comments. Their friends started to know me and like me and engage with me. Next thing you know, those people were on fast track to 1 million followers and they started engaging with me. And at that time, that's all it took. If you got a like and a comment from Oleg Vishnopolsky or from Bridget Hyacinth, you're guaranteed to get 100 likes as well. And back then they had a short list of people that, they were doing that with and for. And just because I put myself in the right place at the right time strategically, I got on that list. So, I had some early posts go viral. And from there, it was just a matter of, continuing to be authentic, but also keeping up, being consistent. I don't know that I've taken one day off LinkedIn, in those 3 years or so since I started. And, I always make sure I engage more than I expect to get engagement back. Now, something like yesterday, I did a post in the morning with some hummingbirds. I didn't realize in about 20 minutes, the post had 300 likes. I said, oh, this thing's going to go crazy. So it's still going crazy. It's now got 2,000 likes, something like that. The view count's not as high as some of my posts, but it's in, 20, 30, 40,000 views, whatever. But a post like that, trust me, I did not go on and engage with 2,000, 3,000 people to get that. But I do believe in the law of reciprocity. So I probably went on and engaged with 100 or 2 people because I wanted 100 or 2 engagements. So I think just being consistent honestly, I think I still, with 182,000 followers, outperform most people of any follower size on the platform by sheer engagement. I love any post I see. I always love to give it a like, always love to give it a comment. I used to shout people out and people loved that, but I can't do it anymore because if, God forbid, if I shout out 20 people, I'm going to have 1,000 people say, why wasn't I on that list and this and that you have to do. And even as much as I love you and your show, earlier you said, can you make a mention on LinkedIn? I said, I can't because I'm going to have 100 other guests say, wait a minute, why didn't you? And, it just gets to where it can be difficult to keep up. But, I try really hard.
It's no longer 2018. I remember we were all tagging 1,000 people in the comments. But let me go back to what you said. I think it's really important, the be authentic part. Listen, I am a big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk, okay, who really influenced me in a very positive way the first time I came across him. Believe it or not, it was two years ago, who said, don't wait for the perfect setting. Going back to what you said with the $1 million house and the perfect car and the perfect setting. Don't wait to create the perfect context for you to shoot. Just document. Be real, be authentic, be genuine. Okay, use some tact, but be yourself. Why? I think this gives you speed. The more authentic you are, the less you care about perfecting your equipment, perfecting your use of language, right? The more speed you have in executing. What do you think about that?
So I'm fond of saying, and I say often that perfection is the enemy of progress, but I think I can take it a step further with you on the show. I've made the progress, and now it's fun. Gary Vee knows who I am as well now too. We've had some, our teams have been back and forth a bit, and I have some good friends like our dear friend Rana Kudahi down in Australia.
Yeah.
She says I'll be the next Gary Vee, and now my team says no, we're going to outperform this guy. They're saying they want me to be the next Tony Robbins, although I'm a little bit shorter. But I say perfection is the enemy of progress, and I think what I've done for the last 2 years, I've seen a lot of people strive for perfection. And so they might post once a week and they think the post is so perfect. And if it doesn't do well, it breaks their heart. For me, I've made the progress and I think it's tangible. I'm monetizing my personal brand now. I'm getting leads every day for my software company that I'm the founder and chairman of. I don't say this lightly. My dreams are coming true because of what I've done on LinkedIn. And the only reason is I didn't strive for perfection. As a matter of fact, I've gone the opposite route and I've tried to have some of my content and some of my videos be as imperfect as possible. Oh, my hair looks a little too good. Let me expose a bald spot. There's not enough background noise or light in the background. Let me screw that up a little bit. And people love it for whatever reason.
Because people are fed up. Even the dog, gives a. People are fed up with the mainstream. The everything being perfect and set up in a certain way. And that's why. But I do believe that what you said is valid. What do you think about people who spend so much time, as you said, posting and being disappointed that they have no traction and they just quit? I know people, as you said, that they spend so much time crafting a perfect post, a perfect image, a perfect video, and they get zero engagement. What's the secret there? How do you manage to get all this engagement?
So what I do, and I recommend anybody do this in any and every facet in life, is I A/B test. And what I've done, I created a hashtag called Link Tips, and I shared all my findings there, but I A/B tested everything. If I had a post that did pretty well, I came up with three hypotheses on why, and I did a post that only had one, the other, and the third. Tested those. The one that outperformed, I did that against 2 arbitrary measures to make sure it was truly the best, and then you start to dig in. It used to be you couldn't put an external link in the contents of your post. It makes sense. LinkedIn didn't want you to take attention and eyeballs away from their platform. They're in the business of monetizing time on screen and eyeballs. Okay, makes sense. Well, I tested that and it turned out to be true. So I didn't put a single external link in my content for years, 2 years on the platform. If I wanted to say ShedWool.com in my post, I will write the word ShedWool or tag the business page and then write out do a space, write out the word DOT, then a space, and then the word COM for .com, because I wouldn't do the link. As if I do the link, it's going to not do. So yesterday morning, I did a little test after these years. I said, it's early in the morning. I'm going to do a post that's not as much for traction's sake. This one is a cute. I like the gift, but it was more of a let's make the world a better place post. It wasn't a sales post. So I tagged. I got some information on the hummingbird off of a website. I said, you know what? It's time. I'm going to test the external link. So I think it's worldofbirds.org. It's an obscure enough website, and I tagged them in the post itself. I didn't put the link out to people, hey, please engage with this post. I didn't use any hashtags. I didn't do any of the little tricks, right? I think in 20 or 30 minutes, it had 300 likes. I said, oh, this one's going to go crazy. And then but the strange thing is I didn't have a single influencer, and a lot of my friends, we're all influencers now, but nobody with millions of followers, no one who really changes the trajectory of a post engaged in that thing. And it was just going up by the tens of thousands in views for a while because people really resonated with the post. But the point being, and the proof is, that post had an external link in it and it organically and naturally went viral. So guess what that means? Now I need to go back and test some of that, because my new theory is you can put an external link in a post now and it's not going to deter or detract from views or engagement. But I tested everything. I spent a year, and I was a weirdo. I set an alarm for 2 and 4 in the morning every day, and I woke up twice in the middle of the night to check my LinkedIn. And people thought that was crazy. I said, well, I'm trying to get all this engagement, and I'm getting engagement across the globe in every time zone, every continent. Imagine if you wake up at 5:30 in the morning like I do, and you have 300 notifications. You can't catch up. And I learned that the hard way, and I said, I don't want to start my day being 300 notifications behind. By the time I catch up, it's 5 p.m. And of course, I don't stop working at 5 p.m., but my competitors are taking a break and my customers are clocking out for the day. I mean, this is not the right time to start my day because I'm trying to keep up with LinkedIn. So 2 a.m., go through all the notifications, 4 a.m., all the notifications. Then I can wake up at 5:30 in the morning, drink some coffee, spend a little time with my dogs and my wife, right? And then have a relatively clean slate. And so I did. I took it so crazy. I was on LinkedIn on and off for 24 hours a day for about a year and a half, testing. When I found something that didn't work, I would make sure I didn't do it. Let everybody know. I like to think that not just me, but the people like myself that were sharing everything we found probably helped some other people get more, engagement and exposure globally as well. So I had a lot of fun, and frankly, it's been 2.5, 3 years, something like that. I'm still doing it. So
yeah, it's a joyride, and people don't realize how much time you spent on LinkedIn to create and to sustain your community. There is no magic wand. There is no silver bullet. I've listened to an interview of yours saying that you've spent something like 100 hours a week the first 3 years. Is it correct?
something like that, I'm sure.
Where, no, 50, I think 50 was on LinkedIn. So
On
50
LinkedIn,
hours,
yeah.
50 hours per week, which means that, as you said, LinkedIn is not just about popping in, sharing stuff, and leaving. You need to be active. The algorithm likes people who are constantly active, engaging, commenting, sharing.
It's a self-serving
messaging.
algorithm.
Yeah,
It loves to be loved.
it loves to be loved, and it's the possibilities are really endless. The other question is, I see quite a few people on LinkedIn, we had this chat before, who have massive followings. And my question, I will come back to you and ShedWool very soon, because I'm circling around the LinkedIn first. My question is, if you don't have a tangible product first, a specific product that you can use, so by leveraging LinkedIn, you can increase your chances of generating leads, therefore creating your business. If you don't have a tangible product, how easy it is to leverage a huge following to make money? Does it even make sense without a specific product or service in mind? Does it make sense?
Absolutely. And here's what I would say to everybody watching and everyone that's going to see some of these sound bites after the fact. Everyone watching this has a product, and I can tell you what it is. We all have the same product. It's us. You are the product. And the capital, it's not money. Money is a byproduct. There are two resources as I see them. The first is time, and the second is love. And you spend the time, but when you get love, I have love around the globe. If I went, God help me, if I went to China, United Arab Emirates, India, if I went to the UK right now, Australia, I won't pay for a meal. I won't pay for a hotel. Now I'll do both because I'm going to go somewhere nobody knows me, right? And so, but really, I have fans and love all around the world with the social capital that I've built. And it's not just me. It's not unique. I've spent years spreading love, sharing love, tuning into love, putting that out into the world. And I'm, thank God I have money in the bank now, and I make a salary, and I'm part of companies that are worth a lot of money, and that's great. But honestly, that doesn't mean much. And I know some miserable people who have much higher net worths than myself. It's not about the money necessarily, but you can monetize social capital. You can monetize your life. We're all the CEO of our own life. We're all our own bosses. We're our accountability partners. We're responsible. We report up to ourselves. We're the board of directors. And we're doing as individuals a terrible job as a CEO if we're running our life as a business that's not profitable. So at the end of the day, we need money to feed our dogs and our families and to pay for our mortgage and our car note, right? Or, if you're smart enough to buy used or, buy your car flat out, you still need to get the insurance and put the gas in. So money is necessary. But what I can tell everyone listening right now, what's even more necessary than money is love. And once you get out there and you share love, you share thoughts, you share ideas, people start to get to know you. There are people hiring for EQ right now. There are people that are hiring people just because they like their name and their smile. There are people that need so much help right now. They're hiring anybody they've heard of. So when people spend time on a social platform, and it doesn't have to be LinkedIn, but if it's going to be LinkedIn, go all in. I see people that probably spend 20 minutes a day on 10 different platforms and complain that they only get 10 likes per post. If they had taken all that time and put it on any one of those platforms, they would start growing fast and developing that, that authentic fan base that you can mobilize, and yes, you can monetize as well.
How important is it to have a specific value proposition as a profile, as a LinkedIn profile? Do you need to have a specific value proposition? Or, as you said, because you are the product, as a personality, you can direct attention into any product or service or value proposition you choose at whim?
Yeah, I don't think I think we all have a USP because we all are you, right? And we're UYOU, and we're you with a capital U, and that's what we are. We together we are one, but individually we are one. And once people understand that concept, where you don't need to try to be too different or original. I can literally name, and I won't do it. We're live on, I can name probably 15 to more than that people that have great audiences, great engagement on LinkedIn right now that, and I hope this doesn't sound just humble, but that have built their personal brand trying to do what I do. Making videos similarly, using some of my hashtags. I for a while I was using a couple specific characters in some things in my content. I've seen some of these people that are doing great now using those same characters, and they're obscure characters from the 60s, 70s, whatever it might be. They literally they studied what I did, and it's sometimes the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So for a while I was getting messages, Cory, you need to block this person. You need to report this person. This post looks like something you would have written, or did they steal this from you? And you know what I said? First of all, I was so flattered. I go on, I start engaging with all of them. I really do. I give them likes. I'll comment. I'll say this, brilliant perspective. It reminds me of something I would think. It doesn't bother me because how many people now have built a brand, trying to emulate Gary Vee, Tony Robbins, Jay Shetty, any of these people. And you know what? Frankly, my audience, and I didn't model myself after anybody, but I'm quite certain there are 100 or more influencers that people could say, Cory's just like a young version of this guy or that guy. God bless him. And maybe I saw him in the past. I didn't realize it. Maybe it's completely random and it's part of the Akashic record. But there are people who have never heard of Gary Vee. I've known Gary Vee for 10 years because he and I are in the wine industry, and we became involved in the tech space. You only heard of him 2 years ago. That means for 8 years I could have been doing the same thing, and you would have never once thought, "Oh, Cory's just trying to be a Gary Vee." And so I think at the end of the day, everyone that's trying to be Cory Warfield out there, first of all, God bless all of them. I appreciate it. Second of all, they either don't have a gap in their teeth or a crazy, Jewish afro, or they don't have these crazy dogs that love to try to outspeak their dad in public. And right, like there will be differences. So it doesn't matter to me. And I think, frankly, a lot of my friends that have a lot more followers and a lot more engagement than me feel very similarly. It's flattering.
Listen, Cory, what you said is very interesting. I will tell you two things. First of all, remember what we said before. Authenticity gives you speed. Okay? So if you consume yourself, not you, I mean, if I consume myself trying to be Cory or trying to be Gary Vee or trying to be whoever, I have no doubt in my mind that I would be losing out extremely valuable time in the process of copying others. So this is the first point. The second point, imagine, and I've used this example before, imagine that I give you right now the recipe for Coca-Cola. I stole it and I will send it to you. in PDF format, the exact formula of Coca-Cola, okay? Then you launch your own cola product in your country, in your town. Can you become Coca-Cola? Why not?
Well, I teach a masterclass on Think and Grow Rich, and I always read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich book, but he tells the story very well. There was a doctor that traveled around that had the recipe, and he had a special magic pot, and he sold that recipe and the pot to a little doctor in a small town for a couple $100. That doctor took it and, basically turned it into a brand. And now, first of all, Coke has so much market share that Pepsi's struggling. We can't name, I guess we could say RC or something, but the competition is not, a factor for them. But the reason that I can't do it is because there are so many people that are also trying to emulate that same product. So there's no differentiation there. And you're up against a, many billion-dollar behemoth. But I think more so than anything, you don't have the social proof. I talk a lot about social proof.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
And they have the cute polar bears as mascots. So
absolutely. So the social proof, the momentum. You don't have the momentum of Coca-Cola. I don't have the momentum of Gary Vee. Forget it. I can post not 30 posts a day, 300 posts a day. I've lost the train. Okay, maybe I'm on my own train. Maybe I'm onto something myself. But forget about Kobe and Gary Vee. Forget about Kobe and Cory. And talking about Napoleon Hill, right? Because I know that you, and I want to get you to the ShedWool chapter now, and to talk a little bit about your shift, pun intended, from employee into an entrepreneur. How did that happen? What was the pivot that made you think, listen, I want to try and get out there and develop this solution and become my own boss? What was the pivot? Do you remember? Was there a story? Was there a heartache? Was there a bad moment in your previous career that sort of pivoted you into the new realm that you are right now?
No, but no, there really is. And when I'm on LinkedIn, no one there's worked in restaurants, so they take me at my word. Here on Facebook, a lot of people have worked in restaurants, so I'm going to say something that's either going to position me as a lunatic or a thought leader. But everyone that's watching this that's worked in restaurants is going to know that I'm right. Every day working in restaurants sucks, and it sucks for one particular reason. That's the scheduling. Scheduling changes every day and every week. Every week, everyone in the restaurant industry is on call, and they don't know until noon or 1 o'clock that day if they're working that day. If you have kids, you can't get childcare, let alone that most childcare ends at 6 p.m. and you're working until midnight. Second of all, you don't know how to forecast how much you're working. If they say you might work 5 days next week and you work 3, you're literally living on and making 60% of your income. And when you don't know when you're working or not, you can't have a social life. You can't have a dating life. It makes things absolutely terrible. So when you're a worker, your life sucks. When you're a manager, life sucks even worse because your bonus, right? You're paid a very small base salary, and then your bonus is contingent on hitting labor percentages. You can't do that when you're haphazardly scheduling and bringing people in on call. We got lucky that now just a year and so ago, people started passing legislation in municipalities and states around the country, making that illegal. So that's how we're starting to sign some of our bigger enterprise clients, and that's what we've solved for. But 5 years ago, when I had the idea, I realized all the data existed to end the on-call shift. The data existed if it were properly processed, and we've been using the industry-leading scheduling software for years. We liked it. We didn't love it. All of us every day said we wish it did do this or that, and it didn't do this or that. I found out how expensive it was when they took it away from us. We offered to pay for it as a staff. They wouldn't let us because they didn't want it on the balance sheet. And when I realized how expensive it was and how suboptimal it was, I decided to create my own and one that could be, differentiated by leveraging data, machine learning, deep machine learning, and eventually artificial intelligence, but also just what I, as a worker, a shift worker manager, wished I would have had. I found most of our competitive products were created by tech guys, right? Or people that came from the banking sector. They hadn't waited a table in their life, and so they didn't know things like automating a pre-shift could save time, money, and make people happy. And now we're moving into some fun things. We're starting to gamify shift work to reduce churn and turnover and help people have more of a predictable and profitable life. We're touching things like training, temporary hiring. I mean, we're having so much fun with the platform now, and we see more and more adoption by bigger and bigger companies and more industries. And, it's the dream. At this point, we believe we're fast tracked to be $1 billion company. And I've got a great team as well. We've got about 20 some people working with the firm that all of them are smarter than me. None of them have as many followers as me on LinkedIn, but it's just because they don't take it as seriously as I do. No, we're having a lot of fun.
But are you a tech guy, or you hired the tech guy to manifest your idea into the product?
Yeah, I brought on a technical co-founder initially to build out kind of the MVP. And at this point, we have a world-class CTO. We're his 7th company. His first 6 have all exited, 3 IPO, 3 public. And he's got a full dev team. They're all senior developers. They're amazing. We're actually getting ready to, we're prepping to launch our new version of ShedWool in just a few weeks. It is next level. I love our product we've had on the market for years and been selling. However, the next version of ShedWool coming out soon is something that everyone watching this is going to be hearing about and seeing about in some form or fashion.
I love your t-shirt, by the way. I really love your t-shirt. I've been seeing it for years now, and it sticks to the viewer because it's part of your ecosystem and in the whole atmosphere of who you are. Let me ask you something else. How you bootstrapped the business? Like no loans, no favors from relatives. You just went right on with your own resources and your own ambition and your hustle. Is it correct?
Oh yeah.
Do you regret?
No, and frankly, today as the chairman of the board and the majority shareholder, I still only have about the same percentage as somebody might have of a company of our size that had done, the more traditional fundraising and things like that. And we're now at a point where to scale, we're actually raising a multi-million-dollar round, and I'll probably find out today or in the next few days. And we've got some big interest in that already. We just launched that fundraise, fairly recently, and it'll be great, particularly for the PR. But it's kind of it's almost sad to think that we're finally going to take a first real round of funding. But whatever, it's all part of growing up. But I wouldn't change a thing, and I recommend everybody else does, because revenue needs to be your early social proof. And when people give you money, it's really easy to have a skewed perception. You think you're solving a problem that doesn't exist. You think people want what you're bringing to market, but they don't. And it's really difficult to spend money on product market fit. Money skews the product market fit. You need a product without money behind it and see if people not only will use it, but actually pay money for it. And that's the way you can come up with your pricing theses and all of that as well. And I've started more companies more recently than ShedWool as well, and I help people start companies all the time. And this is my plaque from Founder Institute. I was their mentor of the year because I help people start so many startups now, and I try to tell all of them not to raise any money. I say, no one wants to give you money until you don't need it anyway. So rather than wasting the emotion, the time, and frankly, the resources to try to raise money, raise product, raise revenue. I always say every early stage founder, their job is to sell the dream. And you're not selling that to an investor that wants to be lazy. You're selling that to the market. You're selling that to potential co-founders that are willing to put in sweat equity just like you are.
So you went from employee, you developed this product, this business, and now, as you've said, you're generating profits, which I presume are sufficient for a comfortable life. Am I correct? Are you happy with what you do right now?
Absolutely. Yeah, but between my salary and everything else, absolutely, I'm happy.
Absolutely. And what's the time span for a viewer who is considering to bootstrap or to set up their own business? The viewers who are employees, either in the hotel, cafeteria, restaurant, or other industries, who may have an idea such as yours to solve a problem that they experienced firsthand. For you, it was the shifts, the loss of control, and the negative impact on the life of a shift worker. For them, it may be something else. What sort of time span would you say that somebody needs, and patience as well, to go through the journey that you took to arrive where you are today? Like a 3-5 year plan, maybe more?
Yeah, I think 3 to 5 years is pretty accurate. I was about 3 years in when I first, was able to start to raise bigger accounts and raise a little bit of just, call it bridge capital, because people really were excited with what we were doing. And now we're closing in on 5 years, and we're in a different world. So I do think that's a pretty accurate timeline. But one thing, if I could go back and do it all differently, the only thing I would change, I would delegate more and have brought more people in early. So I think anyone looking to do something, as long as, you can't be a part-time entrepreneur. We've never heard of a company that was founded by a solopreneur either. So you have to find a way to at least put the 40 hours a week in, even if you're doing a side hustle, right? I think, Upwork, Fiverr, places like that are a great way to supplement. I was making business model canvases for entrepreneurs and students as my side hustle for about a year when I was bootstrapping ShedWool. And then I started teaching my LinkedIn masterclass to teach people how to get growth like I have. And that's what I used for another year to supplement the company. So, even though I was working, 30 to 50 hours a week, at least on ShedWool every week, and spending the time on LinkedIn, I found a way to make money, not only to kind of keep my bills paid, but to keep paying for the company's progress as well.
So the side hustle is a must for you to transition into the entrepreneurial realm.
I think so.
Otherwise, you will not be able to disconnect from the employee, the 9-to-5 salary-based model.
Yeah.
what is the how do you do with the competition in your industry? Like, what's the competition like for scheduling apps and scheduling platforms? Is it fierce? How do you maintain an edge in the competition?
By loving them. I send out their retweets. I congratulate them when they raise money. A close competitor of ours called Deputy just raised an $82 million Series A round.
Wow.
We just nabbed the guy they tried to get as their global director of sales is now working for us. The biggest leader in our space I used for years, they're called Hot Schedules. Their last round was a $100 million debt round from the state of California Bank. They raised about $150 million. They do close to 100 million annual revenue, big company. We have a better product, and frankly, the guy that started that company has become a friend, and he likes what we're doing and has talked about potentially joining our board. We have so many competitors, and some of them have signed up for demos and trials of ShedWool, and obviously they all know what we're doing also. But
exactly.
There's enough meat on the bones, there's enough pie to go around, and I truly wish them all well. That said, we've been quietly working on the best product on the market at the most attractive price point, and I'll feel bad when we put some of them out of business, but when we steal the large accounts from them, as we've been doing, I will be honest, it's been feeling kind of good.
But in reality, I mean, this is a massive market. You're very correct. There is so much meat on the bone because, I mean, wherever you go, there are cafes, restaurants, hotels. It's the sky is the limit, really.
Oh, we're now in manufacturing. We have police and fire departments using us. Universities have a use case in manufacturing. So yeah, I mean, it transcends. The medical industry is our biggest opportunity right now. First responders, home healthcare, hospitals. Yes.
So you are correct. I mean, and it's part of the game. I mean, the competition is part of the game, and it keeps the quality really high as well. So you're kept on your toes with your team. You keep updating your software. You keep updating your platform. So it's a race. I wouldn't say it's a race to the bottom. It can be a race to the top in terms of quality, right?
Which I'm excited about because we've been competitive with our quality, but our next version, I believe that we're going to be setting the bar globally.
What's your edge? If you could say that schedule, let's say the elevator pitch with somebody who's asking you, why schedule?
So we're a customizable rules-based scheduling platform for shift workers that solve for the labor law compliance around scheduling. So we contribute substantially to companies' top and bottom line, and at the end of the day, we produce a happier and more effective workforce. So, all of those put together turn into a very powerful business tool. And although I love all my competitors, I don't know that any of them can defend what I just said. And we also distill it down to smart scheduling. We've taken technology to make scheduling smarter, to make life a little easier for the management as well.
Let me ask you something. Talking about bootstrapping, pitching, how do you handle rejection? We all handle rejection directly or indirectly. Do you have any motto? We had this discussion with some other colleague, Rana, as well. Do you take it well? Do you take it lightly? Have you found a way?
I love it. I love it so much. It's my favorite thing because first of all, and Rana helped me with some of my mindset. Rana is wonderful. But the first thing that I need people to understand, if they don't already, is that every no is one no closer to a yes. Always. Always, always, always. And you don't know how many no's stand between you and that yes. So if you can get a no, you should be jumping up and down. That's one no that's out of the way, literally. And you're one step closer to the yes, literally. Second of all, people pay attention to how you deal with the no. I've been told no before. It happened yesterday. Been told no before, and you say, that's amazing. Thank you so much. God bless you. You turn around and you say, well, wait a minute. What about it? What about maybe? And it becomes this great power play, and this really great kind of approach that you can take. But more so than that, the no's add up to the wins, and the failures add up to the successes, and every no can be a learning experience. And so through that lens, when you look at it as a blessing, and people think you're crazy when you're ringing the bell at the end of the day when you had 600 cold calls, 580 of them didn't answer, and 20 of them told you to go screw yourself, and you're celebrating that. My God, you never know. That 601st call could be the winner, and that could be the very first thing in your next morning. Or you might be 10,000 no's away from that yes, in which case you just got 600 of them out of the way. It's a beautiful way to look at it, and in my opinion, it changed my game both from an entrepreneurial perspective and from a sales perspective.
And you also become more resilient, more mature. You grow a thick skin as well. I mean, a few years ago, when I changed my career into a more freelance, when I did my first pitch and I received a no, I was like, can't be possible. I spent 3 hours drafting my pitch, customizing, talking to these guys, going for dinner with them. And no, yes, you have to be, as you said, you have to reframe as well. See the rejection as part of your growth as well. There is no other way to see it, I think. And you remind me of when you talked about Napoleon Hill and his blockbuster book, because you are a dreamer who are you're manifesting your dream, and you're very tenacious. I've been watching your journey. You know that I've been watching your journey for years now. You've been putting hours and hours for this company and this business. And you remind me of the first story being told in that book. I'm sure you know it, but let me say it because I love saying that story. It was the story with Thomas Edison, remember? There was this guy called Edwin Barnes, a poor guy who woke up one day and he made up his mind that he wanted to go to business with Thomas Edison, not to work for Thomas Edison. He wanted to become the business partner of Thomas Edison. That was a dream, the big, audacious, hairy goal, as Jim Collins were going to say. Bloody hairy and audacious for a poor guy, poorly dressed, no money in his pocket. Whether he liked it or not, whether Edison liked it or not, what did he do? This guy, despite having no money and no connection at all with Edison, he jumped on a freight train, right? And he managed to get an audience before Edison. He appeared before Edison and he told him, Mr. Edison, I want to become your partner. And there were some relatives nearby, some cousins of Edison. They were laughing. They were laughing at this guy. What are you doing? You're ridiculous. Do you know who this man is? I mean, Edison was a big shot at the time, right? And Edison was not laughing because Edison saw in the eyes of that young man a burning desire. I think there is a chapter in the book, Burning Desire, the burning desire of somebody who wants to succeed. And he hired him on the spot. He didn't make him his partner. He gave him a job, which led to another job. And it took him 5 years to earn the trust of Edison. And I think what happened basically is that when Edison's team invented a voice recording device, the Ediphone it was called, his team of advisors said, this is rubbish. This will never take off, right? I think it was like 3 years in the relationship with this guy, the Edwin Barnes. And this guy said, no, you're wrong. This thing can change the world, the Ediphone. And they were disagreeing. They were saying, are you listening to this guy? Who is this guy telling us we need to scrap this? And Edison gave him a chance. He told him, get the Ediphone and go out there. Do whatever you want. And he managed to make this product a success, an incredible success. And he became his partner within 5 years. And that's the sort of the seed that led to this whole secret, the secret philosophy about
the law of attraction. But
yeah.
I want to hop in for a quick second because I teach a master class, or as Napoleon Hill calls it, a mastermind allegiance. I teach one that I just taught on the first chapter just a few days ago. And I pointed out something. Now, first of all, you told that story better than anyone, and it's not surprising you're a master storyteller, but that was great. But there's one thing I highlight that blew my mind because Napoleon Hill is so literal, so specific, and so intentional. That chapter says he had 2 obstacles. 2 obstacles he had. He didn't know Edison, and he didn't have enough money for the train ride.
Only 2.
Exactly. And that means no more. That was it. And then the very next sentence, it says that he arrived in New York. Now, this is what I think a lot of people might miss when they read that. What was not specified, and you did a great job in the story. I think you did a little more diligence. The book doesn't say how he got to New York. And here's the important thing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're not supposed to worry about the how. We're supposed to set forth the burning desire, like you said. We're supposed to understand that this is a rules-based methodology, and we're supposed to trust the process. So it doesn't matter how he got to New York. He could have walked there. He could have flown there. He could have closed his eyes, clicked his heels. The how doesn't matter. And when we're materializing and when we're manifesting our own realities and when we're co-creating and when we're steering the ship as the captain of our lives, the how doesn't always matter. The boat doesn't care how it's getting to the other shore. It entrusts that a captain knows what he's doing, right? And so I think that concept is really important to understand as well.
It doesn't matter how he showed up, and Edison couldn't give a toss. I mean, why should Edison know or care? What mattered is that he overcome the obstacle. No, he appeared before Edison. That was his major success.
That's it.
Moving closer to the goal. So that's a great story. I think it's quite inspiring as well. And it's the first chapter of the book. So it sets you up for a great ride. But I think there is no shortcut. But you have to have a burning desire and you have to be tenacious. It took you 5 years. Come on, it took you 5 years. It's not like you, and Edwin Barnes as well, it's 5 years. So it's the 3 to 5 years window of hustling. I think you need to put these hours in. There is no other way to do it.
This is awesome.
How difficult is it to reach? Because that's a very similar point with the Edison story. Okay, how difficult is for someone to reach the gatekeepers of the industries they wish to succeed in or penetrate through LinkedIn?
Not hard at all. There's a guy named Jose Sill. He's the CEO of Restaurant Brands International. They own Burger King, Popeyes, and Tim Hortons. I reached out to him by engaging with some of the posts that I saw him engaging with that mentioned him, tagging him in those comments. I let him reach out to me, add me as a connection. Boom. Sent him a very nice short message to which he responded. They were coming out with the Impossible Whopper. I sent him some hashtags that I thought could be pleasant. I ended up seeing some in a marketing campaign. But then I sent him a long message. He and I have become, not full-on friends, but quite friendly. And, he's very familiar with what we're doing at ShedWool. I think we'll get a pilot there. But that happened just with a little strategic, don't just reach out to someone that they haven't heard of you. Do something to make sure they hear of you. Add a little bit of value so they understand that this is someone they want in your life. And it becomes very easy. I mean, it's, I've met and know people like Damon John from Shark Tank now, which is great. But I also just through LinkedIn know people like Jack Canfield. You mentioned The Secret. He wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. I got to meet him in person. We engage on LinkedIn, right? Things like that. So these are masters of their industries, dominating the global industries that they represent. And I've got to know all of them on LinkedIn. And a lot of this was, well before I had a 6-figure following or anything. So it's not just, one big shot to another, even though, I think most people would laugh if they heard someone calling me a big shot yet. But, I'm gunning for it. It's in my sights.
I have no doubt that you're on your way there. Cory, I think today we don't really need to hop on a freight train to appear before an Edison. Because as you said, even with LinkedIn, with some strategy and some tact and some consistency, we can approach these people. And I had such success as well. My experience is that it's easy to wrap people off the wrong way on LinkedIn. So if you intend to approach somebody prominent or somebody who means a lot to you, you should rather, as you said, create the environment where such interaction will become more possible. How? You stalk them. You go to their posts, you add value, you engage, you become visible, you put your face before the radar. I think, and as many times as I've tried that, I've seen that it can work. So the wrong way to do it is to cold message them, to send them a cold message. I want to meet you. They will not even reply, right? You have to come in their vicinity, or you have to be in their vicinity. And the way to do it, once again, you don't even need to be their connection. You go and you follow their activity, you add value, you spend time, you farm that that process of interactions, and hopefully one day you can make your stint. But that's how, but it's a trap to think that you can press a button and, as you said, go for lunch with the Shark Tank. Forget it. I mean, this is not how things are done. And I've had some bitter experiences some years back, but it can happen. The world is so well connected that it can happen. So let me ask you something else. If you were to choose, because you are right now, you are an entrepreneur, you are an influencer. Allow me to use that term in the positive way. You are a marketeer, you are a communicator, you are a trainer. Maybe you can add some other nouns. If you were to choose one noun, let's say you are prohibited from using many nouns, what will you choose?
Inventor or explorer, you can take it. They're interchangeable to me.
I love them both. I love them both. And you know what? Stephen Fry is a popular journalist in the UK. And one day he said that we are not nouns, we are verbs. So I really like that, because I also have many things on my plate. I'm a jack of many trades. I write music, I lecture, I create content, I do marketing, I teach lawyers, I play the piano. So I like the idea that we are not nouns. So we invent, for example, we market, we provide value, we write songs. We are not musicians. So I really like the idea of verbs as opposed to nouns. And let me go to the final part now and ask you 3 personal questions, not personal in the negative sense. If you were to give any advice to your younger self, you gave us some already before with involving more people earlier on, perhaps in your journey, outsourcing more things. But if we go way back, let's say we go 20 years back to the young Cory, what single piece of advice would you give to yourself? What you can say?
Honestly, I think it would be to listen more and to speak less.
What entrepreneur do you admire, or entrepreneurs? Do you have any people that you believe are truly inspirational? And
it's going to be so unoriginal, but I have to say Elon Musk.
The same here. Absolutely. Elon Musk. And some people, 3 years ago, some prominent people in the local business industry, when I told them, they told me, come on, this guy is a fraud. He's that, he's another. But, today they're sharing his posts. A few weeks ago, when he launched SpaceX, he launched the NASA mission, they were all, talking about Elon Musk, whereas 2 years ago, that guy is a fraud. Come on, the guy is a new, not Thomas Edison, is a new Nikola Tesla. We are lucky to have these people in our period of living, I think. Elon Musk.
Agree.
He may be crazy, he may be on the verge, but we need this kind of people. And we have 2 comments and questions. I will put them on the screen now. Before I upload the comments, any books you recommend that you may have read recently on business, on marketing, you have many books on your shelves, I know, from people on LinkedIn as well. Any really good books that you recommend?
Yeah, the 2 I recommend to everybody and on almost any journey, but The Lean Startup by Eric Ries and Traction by Gabriel Weinberg. Those to me are the 2 must reads. They both changed my life. I think they've changed the life of almost everyone I've recommended them to. So The Lean Startup and Traction.
The Lean Startup is for bootstrappers and for
anybody. But yeah, I mean, you don't need a bootstrap for the book, but it's a way to start a company with less rather than more.
And the second book is about how to gain visibility and to get traction and to draw people to you.
Yeah, how to get sales, how to get, exposure, anything you can think of from a business perspective. It breaks it down in very actionable, very, very easy to comprehend steps.
Excellent. Now, we have 2 small comments and questions. One, okay, this is from Stathis. Hello, Stathis. He's an excellent and a former Olympian. He was a guest on my podcast a few days
saw
ago.
That show.
Yeah, amazing guy. He's a great person and athlete as well. Hi, Stathis. And Nikos Kalligas. Hi, Nikos. Nikos was a manager for many years in one of the biggest coffee enterprises in my country, Cyprus, and he decided to quit. So he's really interested in what you are in your business and in your whole approach to the scheduling solutions. And he's asking, in my experience in Cyprus, my country, companies do not really use scheduling software platforms. It's just on paper. Okay, so how do you persuade a company to use such software? Is there a way to pitch this to them, to say, guys, how do you do it? The floor is yours.
Well, thank you. What I would say very quickly is that we still see a lot of businesses here in the States also either using Excel or pencil and paper also. And the reality is very stark, and it's very simple. It's costing the companies money, and it's costing their managers a chance at their bonuses. And so for companies for whom their bottom line is important, for companies that especially had a slow first and second quarter this year due to COVID, for companies that are monitoring their labor percentages on their P&L, we show tangible results instantly. So it's, we have a free trial period. Any company that were to use us after using pencil and paper, it's night and day difference. We have the Android and the iOS apps for the Apple. We have the web version for anyone on a computer, tablet. We also do offer SMS text messaging, email notifications, anything like that to make it easy. But that pilot, that 2-week pilot, I don't think anyone's ever gone through the pilot and not seen the value. I don't know if it's the case in Cyprus, but here in the States, using our software not only makes them more profitable and a more educated and better communicated workforce, but it also keeps companies compliant with the labor laws. Probably no labor laws in Cyprus yet around scheduling, but I know Cyprus is always on the leading edge of a lot of these things also. So I imagine you'll start to see some legislation, at which point using pencil and paper to schedule your workforce will become illegal. So, companies, we're talking, we have some high level conversations with executives at Starbucks right now for the same reason. They paid $1 million fine violating these laws that we've solved for. So, it's really one of those things. If pencil and paper is working for someone and it's truly working and they love it and their employees love it and, it's working, I wouldn't want them to switch from something that's working well. But I think the reality is so far, everyone we've shown our solution to that's using something a little more antiquated has seen the value immediately.
So maybe Nikos would like to pitch ShedWool for his former employers. Nikos, get in touch with Cory.
We'll love to talk to you.
Thank you, Nikos. And a final comment again from Stathis. We've covered it. Stathis asks, how do you respond to rejection? We've covered it, but maybe you want to give a quick snapshot of your answer again.
With excitement and gratitude. I love the rejection. It opens up a pathway to an acceptance from something much better, and you can always learn from it. And at the very least, it's one no closer to a yes. I look forward to every bit of rejection. But I also find the further along the road you get, the less rejection you see. So I think sometimes it's just, it's part of a journey. And I think the way you respond to it really can impact how you come out the other side.
Very clear, very precise. Thanks for that, Cory. So this brings us to the end. I only want to ask you what the future holds for Cory, for ShedWool. Of course, you are going to the new phase now of funding, which I'm sure it will be exciting. And I wish, but you don't need my wish. I have no doubt that with your tenacity, your conviction, it's going to go on a positive path. What about Cory?
So I hate to say this, but I've got a Think and Grow Rich mastermind that I'm a few minutes late for. And the worst thing about it is I'm going to leave you with you're going to want me to go into detail and I don't have time. So this just means you have to have me on next time. But I have an idea of an invention that I've come up with. I've done some very preliminary engineering, and it's intended to take us as a humanity to the bottom of the ocean and then potentially the bottom of Antarctica as well. We've never been to the bottom of the ocean. The further down we go, the more incredible things we see. Electric neon creatures full of chemicals that can help regrow brain cells. We find all kinds of things, all the airplane and boat wrecks down there, former civilizations, but just so much. And I've got some ideas on ways that we can get down there very safely, very easily, and very eco-friendly. So I've mentioned this to some NASA, ex-NASA, and SpaceX employees and engineers. It's blown their mind as well. They're on board with it, and it's a costly endeavor. So we'll sell ShedWool first, and that's what's next. And unfortunately, we're gonna have to do a part 2 for me to do a deeper dive on that one.
With
literally.
with great pleasure. So thank you so much, Cory, for being on this show. I've really enjoyed our chat. We will have a next one for sure down the line. Thank you to our viewers who have watched and who will watch the pre-recorded version of the various audio platforms as well. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll be seeing you on LinkedIn and not only. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you so much. Thanks for watching.
Ciao.
And thanks for having me. Ciao.
Bye. 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 Bye.
Save a prayer for those who care. I keep the faith, but no one will dare to hold my hand until the end. When all the pieces fall into place, my body's weak, the mind is tired, but there's a fire that heals.